Welcome to the Public Figure Society podcast, where innovation meets influence. If you're building a brand, leading a movement, or shaping the future, you are in the right place. We bring you the insights, strategies, and stories that fuel the world's most impactful public figures. It is time to step up, stand out, and leave your mark. Let's dive in. Welcome to Public Figure Society. I am truly excited to have Cailean Bailey on today. He is the head of acquisition of Design Pickle, and that's a design platform, creative design platform, which has got 500 creators from around the globe, and he is the man that picks the talent. And I heard him at Venture Cafe, and I was intrigued by how he was so honest about where we are. You need to leverage AI. Use it in the best way possible. At the same time, there needs to be a human element. And that seems to be the theme in very different avenues. But I want to say welcome, Cailean. How are you today?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm great. Thanks for having me. I'm glad we were able to connect last week.
Yeah, so I would love for you to tell a little bit about your philosophy of hiring. And I think it was really interesting to me is that don't lose the human element. And it seems like a lot of people are relying too much on AI. And I felt the panel a lot of times was just talking about how AI was doing these things. And you were like stopping the debate and saying, hey, the human element's leading it. So I'd love for you to tell us a little bit more about your philosophy and your company, how you're utilizing it.
Yeah, well, I want to qualify it by saying I'm just one person inside of one organization and everything I tell you about what works for us, I will tell you all the lowlights too, if you really want that. When I present on this topic to organizations, I start with the highlights, but also say, hey, here's what's really happened with lowlights. Like, we're not perfect, and just because someone's has a platform doesn't mean that they have it all figured out either. So I want to qualify the context of my world. So my philosophy in talent acquisition has remained the same since I started. I sort of fell upwards into corporate recruiting 10 years ago. Prior to that, I was in college athletics. I was a college soccer coach for 7 years, and I always was traveling the country looking for a different kind of talent that fits into a team. So my idea of being a team builder has never wavered, whether it's a soccer team or a corporate product team. It's right person, right seat, and you're looking for different skills to fit every single position. I just sort of came into the corporate world a little bit later, which I think has served me well because I don't feel like I'm cut from the corporate cloth. I wasn't raised in a big agency of high octane agency world where you sort of, work at a large staffing firm and you sort of filter out and then find your path in-house or remaining on that side. So I'm really leaning into that. But what's never wavered is the three things that I won't budge on from a hiring standpoint is never, ever sacrifice your standard. So hold a standard, keep a standard. Never, ever change or reduce or amend or take away your process. Now, you can amend it a little bit. If someone's on PTO, you got to change, so flip this interviewer to go next. That's okay. But the process that you set out is set for a reason, and it's designed to hit multiple angles and look at competencies from different angles from different people. That's something that I think when you change a process, it's a really, really slippery slope. The third thing is I'll never budge on the experience, candidate experience. Unfortunately, in today's world, giving feedback and being transparent about compensation makes you unique. And that's a really crummy thing to say. But all I can do is control us. We're going to be transparent about the compensation. We're going to be transparent about the culture. We're going to be transparent about the process. And we're also going to, in some ways, try to talk somebody out of the job. I don't mean that literally, but I mean, you're going to get here. You need to know exactly what life is like here. And our process and our onboarding should mimic life and the culture and the work at Design Pickle.
That's great. So in that, I love the fact that you came from soccer. I used to be a soccer player in college. I was a left wing, running back and forth.
Those are rare. Every team was always looking for a good left-sided midfielder, a good left-sided left back. That's true.
So my question to you is, that's so fascinating that you looked at recruiting from sports and then go into business, what is the biggest difference, and what are some of the takeaways? Because that's a great, almost like an upbringing before you go into corporate, finding talent in such a unique way. Because I believe sometimes when I talk to HR people, when I was looking for a job, I just felt like it was too cookie cutter. Do you fit? Do you fit? Do you fit? And it kind of like the process was so static.
Yeah. That's a really great thought. And I think about it all the time. I think about my athletic career, mostly my coaching career, so often. And I want to go back, and then I realize my knees can't handle it. My bandwidth can't handle it. My travel schedule can't handle it. But at the end of the day, your goal is to put together a team that trains well and performs well on the game day. Somebody that hired me early on when I did move into corporate recruiting, she's a local agency leader here, was the only person that said, what you're doing in, coaching soccer at X, Y, and Z university is the same. You're not just a jock that rolls out soccer balls and runs practice for an hour and a half a day. That is 5% of the job of being a college soccer coach. The rest of it is sourcing, references, actually going to live events. That's probably the main difference, is you're actually sitting there on the sideline. Fortunately, in the world that I was in, I got to travel a lot, and most of the time in the winter I was going to Florida, San Diego, Texas. So I got to experience a lot of really cool, like sort of free vacations that I could tack on to the end of it. But a winning team has some consistent things. They have people that are all committed and rowing in the same direction. They're committed to a goal of some type. And you just have to replace like winning conference with, shipping a major update to a product that's going to make a customer's lives easier. So I've always taken that philosophy. And even on my LinkedIn banner, it says team builder. It actually doesn't say a ton about recruiting. It just says I'm a team builder. Like, that's what I view this as. My favorite thing is seeing teams win once they have the right people in the right seats, and helping them when they don't. So I've always had the athletic team building mentality, but you don't have to come from an athletic background to think that way. Everybody at some point in their life has been involved in a group. Maybe it was like music, choir, student government. All these things have to have the right people in the right seats. And so mine is just in the context of soccer, which I'm very grateful for. It also makes me massively competitive. I cannot turn that off, but I'm competitive with myself and my own performance and little gamifications in my own team of things like that. But I love to win. I didn't do enough of it as a player. I did a little bit more of it as a coach, and I'm still trying to win just in the corporate life.
So in that context, one of your new team players is AI. So
Mm-hmm.
how do you play, and that's what I loved so much about what you talked about at the talk, was kind of like leveraging AI. You got to admit that AI is part of your team, and I'd love for you to talk more about it, because I felt like there was not enough time for it, but I wanted to really go a little bit deeper on that, because I thought that's a really interesting thought.
Well, in the context of Design Pickle, our CEO, he's a very public figure about this topic exactly, creativity and AI. A year ago, when you asked AI to create an image for you of two people shaking hands, one of them had like 7 figures. So it's not quite there yet. But we always say there's a human behind every design. And we've really leaned into humans plus AI is going to equal a better outcome. AI itself is such a broad term of like, how actually are we using it? There's a couple ways we use it. One is actually inside of our platform. So our team members can actually use the AI tools, such as, Adobe has an AI tool, Copilot, Firefly. Certainly like Copilot and Gemini. These are great tools for quick answers to ideas, but it's not replacing a designer. One of the beautiful things about a custom logo or a custom design is exactly that. It is completely custom. And you have to have a human that can actually look at that and see that. So that's what we're doing from a company side. So that's a big, big closet to open there. But for us, my recruiting team they're already high performers. And what AI has done for us is really take them to another level. And part of that is through how they're using it, and also how the technology that we pay for and use is also leveraging it. So in applicant tracking systems, it can make the search feature, much more effective. It can also help automate little touch points of, hey, this is an automated email that goes out immediately after your interview. And the day before your next interview, we can program it to send a note to say, hey, these are some questions that you might expect in your interview. This is what Sebastian, our sales leader, is going to focus on. We're not giving away the farm, but we're using these automations and triggers inside of our tools to enhance the candidate experience, because we want that to mimic their life as an employee here. We're also seeing a massive shift in how content is delivered and consumed, and AI can be a really big augment to that as well. So nowadays, people are using sort of quick, like ads, Instagram ads, Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, things like that. My team can leverage the marketing assets that our team has come up with. We can use some AI features to say, hey, make this a little bit more recruitment marketing centric. Make this a little bit more employer brand leaning. And all of a sudden, we've taken an asset that our marketing team has created, we've retrofitted it for a recruitment marketing asset as well. So content generation is, for us, we've added that on top of what our current team is already doing, and it's really helped them think from a branding standpoint too. If we were to have them originate those ideas by themselves, it would take hours. But because we have an ongoing thread in ChatGPT, we built GPTs, we can actually have it come back to us with a very much Design Pickle voice asset that we can then use. From a performance management is the other side of it that we're using. So we have a tool that helps us visualize growth tracks, performance management, promotion tracks, and things like that. But that wasn't something that I, as a TA leader, had a ton of experience in.
Can I ask
So
you, what is a TA? What's a TA?
Talent acquisition.
Oh, talent acquisition.
Talent acquisition, yes. TA, recruiting, it's all kind of the same. I always talk about TA team. So in our tool, we can actually leverage, like, hey, I'm at this level. These are my set of competencies I work out. I want to get to that next level. It'll visualize that for you and what competencies I can leverage, and based on my performance feedback and things like that. But my team had never really built a entry-level to C-level track for people to grow with it. So what did I do? I asked AI, and then I sort of built on that, and I built on that, and I built on that, and all of a sudden, I'm presenting on a competency and growth model and leveling structure for our organization that I'd never done before. That would take me months to do if I hadn't had the ability to leverage AI for that. The key thing is once you have it, you can't just take it for face value. I have to then, we always say pickle-ize it. We have to pickle-ize it and make it Design Pickle specific. Otherwise, people are going to look at it and say, this is some AI BS that, Cailean Bailey worked on. So you have to make it your own. That's one thing I think that people really fall short on, is that in reading resumes and reading outreach and reading things, it is still too easy to tell if something was written with an AI tool. But I'll pause there.
I like your pickle-izing. Could you tell me what that means in design?
So, yeah, I every brand every person, every brand, every group has a voice. They have
Right.
a style guide. In
Right.
traditional design, it's a style guide, and that's typically colors, fonts,
Yeah, I know. I was just thinking
logos,
the
things like that.
story of pickle-izing because I think it's
But
such a colorful thing.
for me, it's how can we, if we're going to push out content in whatever platform to candidates, job seekers, or clients, all these types of things, we want it to sound in the Design Pickle voice. And so we built a GPT that takes all of Design Pickle's public facing marketing assets, and we just said, hey, let's make this a little bit more recruiting spin. And so it's going to layer that on top of what we program the GPT to have. And so now if I say, hey, we want to push out some content to graphic designers in Buenos Aires, we can program that, and it will give us a really good launch pad for that marketing campaign. But it's all designed to be in the voice and in the style of Design Pickle and how we represent ourselves publicly. So how our marketing team is trying to convert customers, prospective customers, into leads and into MQL, SQL, all the way down the funnel. Talent acquisition teams are essentially trying to do the same. We're trying to capture the right audience. We're trying to get them interested in working here. We want the best of the best. It's going to stay long and perform well. That's going to help our customers. And we're working through that funnel the same way a marketing funnel works as well. So those messages need to be consistent. We can't have the recruiting team saying all this random stuff that doesn't align with the actual company's brand. And so that's when I talk about the Pickle-izer. That's all that back end work for us to make sure that what the output is reflects the voice of the organization.
Oh, that's really powerful. So in all of this, what I really liked what you said was that we can't do things without AI right now, like because you need to be fast on the output.
Mm-hmm.
How do you, like when you're looking at a creator that you're looking for, say in Buenos Aires, what are you expecting them to use AI, and what are you expecting them to use as the creative force in that?
Yeah, that's. First of all, I want to also reference that our platform itself has some AI capabilities that our team is looking at. So when it comes to submitting design requests, our team is receiving a design request that is augmented by AI. It's prompted so that the customer is submitting something that is a very digestible, cohesive, simple way to understand what they want from that design asset. From our perspective, we look at a candidate utilizing AI as a power-up. I mean, our CEO says it all the time. It's like Mario. He eats a mushroom, and it's a power-up. But Mario can still complete that level just by himself if he doesn't eat all the mushrooms. But it's going to be better and faster and stronger if Mario does eat the mushrooms. So that's the context of how we're looking at AI as a power-up.
I like that
We can,
power up. That's really
yeah,
cool. I like
we
that.
can tell. We've had creative designers submit portfolios that are 100% done with a tool called Midjourney,
Oh,
and
really?
they tried to pass it off as their own. Well, Midjourney is incredibly detailed. Like it's phenomenal. It's a phenomenal tool, but it's not something. I mean, if one human could do all of what Midjourney could, I mean, that's unbelievable. So what we're looking at is customized, personalized brand and design assets that they had to be behind. AI tools and image generators aren't fully customizable yet to say like, hey, let's use this brand, let's pop it here. It will get to that, but today there still has to be a human behind every design. So one of the questions that we're asking in all of our positions, not just creative positions, is how are you using AI currently? Are you using it for content? Are you using it for design? Are you using it to maybe complete some code that you're struggling with? There is no wrong answer to that question, actually. It's not meant to trap anybody. It's actually meant to say, hey, we're encouraging you to tell us how you're using this, because we're a remote company. One day you're going to be in your home office by yourself, and it's no, like maybe the rest of your team is on a different time zone and they're going to be offline, you're going to need to problem solve something. So really what we're looking for is, are you leveraging the free tools that are out there for you? And the second thing is, one of our core competencies of any role is curiosity. To me, somebody that's leveraging AI to make themselves better and constantly looking at ways to tinker it and enhance their own output, that is a massive positive indicator, massive green flag that somebody wants to be the best. And how they do that is important to us. AI is right there. Like there's no rule against using it to help you solve a coding issue or something like that. So that's where we're really leaning into it. Whereas some people are like, I don't really want to admit that my AI helped me design my cover letter. Well, if you just say, hey, I need a cover letter for this job, and it kicks out stock, generic, broad stroke things, yeah, it's not going to help you. If you get that template and you say, I'm going to totally make this specific to myself, the role, all these other things, that's where it's a huge power up for you.
That's interesting because I think there's what I wrote an article last week is a reflection of what you spoke about was, is there shame in AI? Don't have shame. Do you sense that when you're interviewing certain people that not want to admit, is there a sense of shame of thinking that they have to do it all by themselves? And do you think that that notion is going to change? Because I believe that was kind of in the beginning. When I wrote my book, it was just when AI came out. And I found out that because I use Grammarly to do editing, what happens is when you put through AI detector, it said that my book was written 100% by AI, which wasn't true. So we had to put a disclaimer in my book saying, in case, because I'm a crisis person, so I'm thinking crisis management. So I'm thinking, okay, what would happen if people accused me of writing this all in AI? Technically, yeah, it edited through AI. I wrote the book, but do you see? So it's like this kind of component here. And like even on Amazon, you have to put in there, have you used AI, right? I don't know if they have that now. They had that last year. So where do you stand on that, and what do you think? And I thought that was the conversation I was hoping we could have gone deeper last week, but that wasn't really the topic. But I'd love to hear your viewpoint on that.
Yeah, and I think in my bubble, I'm looking at talent acquisition, talent management. So for me, I want to see that people are using it in a way that supports the end goal of the company that they represent. The other thing too is the best way that I can serve our organization is by creating a hiring process that looks at a lot of different angles. One of those is going to be how is this person leveraging AI? How, are they curious? All these types of things. So we need to have an interview process and a hiring loop that pressure tests them in various things where they're not going to be able to use AI right away. So we can still understand their thought process, the core competencies, behavioral competencies. And then we can layer on like questions about, how do you use AI to solve X, Y, and Z? One of the things that you mentioned though was when I do ask that question, I sometimes get a pause and I'm like, hey, listen, this is a good thing. There's no wrong answer here. So don't be anxious about this question. This isn't contingent upon you moving to the next phase or not. I just want to know how you're using AI to leverage data. Sometimes I have to give them an example too, as well. Say, hey, that this thing that we just sent to you, this summary of whatever, we used AI to build that original outline, and then we edited it to be Design Pickle specific. So hey, it's okay. Once you get past that, they'll send it, and it's really cool to learn how some people are using it, from the spectrum of a CS rep all the way to a senior level developer. And I think it's great. And all that goes into the summary of the notes, but it's not contingent that person would move forward or not. It's just something that we like to know. It's a curiosity play, like I've said. I use Grammarly all the time. I love it. It'd be terrible if I didn't have it. I use Grammarly all the time. I will spot check. You can even spot check resumes and say, hey, here's my job description. here's a resume. Tell me where there might be some good things that overlap. Tell me where some gaps are so that I can ask in that interview or in that conversation. So I've really found it to be very helpful on the front end, but my team is still reviewing every resume with our eyes. Um, I know that's a kind of a roundabout way to answer your question, but
But do you think
hopefully
in
that's helpful.
society it's more acceptable now? Like I remember when it came out, a lot of the thought leaders were like totally condemning it. They wanted to have an association. We can't use AI. And it's interesting. I was talking to this one gentleman and going quite public with it nationwide. And now he's quite silent about it because he uses AI. Like he has found a way to utilize it for his language. He's taken his
Hmm.
500 op-eds, put them in there, and been able to create and regurgitate through him. So it's almost like there is this. It seems like there's a shift in that component, but as having been a ghostwriter, people don't necessarily want to admit they have a ghostwriter, right? So so we have something now that we call it the voice writer. You admit what you're using, right? So we're shifting, saying, hey, I can be your voice writer, but if you want me to be a ghostwriter, you have to pay a lot more because my name is not out there, right? So it's kind of like that. I'm coming from a publishing background where your original thought is your writing, and now we have AI that's come in, and when I'm reviewing books right now, I can tell there's like we have like a dictionary of 100 words. We know when you're using AI. So I'm just like wondering, what do you think? Like not from your job, but from the conversations you've had, the reflections that you've had. What do you think we are? What kind of world are we in, and where do you think it's gonna go?
Yeah, I mean, we could be here until midnight talking about this, but what I've seen both in my role, but also being out in the community and networking is we're gonna the workforce is gonna be faced with a big opportunity to upskill, reskill, and upskill. So a lot of times in large corporate organizations, they'll have those growth tracks and things of, well, if you want to move departments, we need to reskill or upskill you in this area. Now you're going to see AI layered into that. I think. Um, I also think, and I think I mentioned this last week when I spoke, was something that's exciting for me. It's more of a hope, is that if you see a high schooler, which I spend a lot of time in coaching those high schools, they're just like so curious, and they want to be involved in the latest and greatest and the coolest stuff. My hope is that if you're a high school student right now and you're interested in STEM specifically, that you start to wonder how AI is actually built. It's not it's not just something that you can go and use it. Like somebody has built it. Like millions and billions and trillions of data points go into that. So I'm hoping that people will look at that and say, I'm really interested in how that was actually built versus just using it. Um, so you're seeing new jobs created too, like a prompt engineer. Like prompt engineer exploded out of nowhere, and that's basically somebody that can help you leverage AI. My friend actually runs an AI business consulting firm on how companies can leverage AI in tons of different contexts. So I I am going to go back to the old saying that people are probably tired of hearing about, is that you won't lose your job to AI, you'll lose your job to someone who knows how to use AI. Um, I do think there's some truth to that, and that's why I keep going around to reskill and upskill of the workforce. Um, I hope that society is leaning that way and using who they have in house to augment their skill set with artificial intelligence versus blanket replacing it altogether. But I do think we're going to see all of these things. The follow on to that is like, well, what happens to people if they are truly displaced by AI? Is there going to be a program for them? Is there government assistance? How does that affect unemployment? Because that's not their fault. They're just there, and a tool came in and took their job. That is something that we need to acknowledge that could potentially happen. Um, I don't have an answer for that. It's just something I've seen and thought about, if it does displace, what do we do with those people, and how can we help support them? I'm assuming it's very
Yeah.
meta and broad
No, I
stroke, but it is
appreciate it.
something to think about.
Yeah. But what I like so much about what you said, and I thought it, and I can imagine how when people are interviewing with you, that they feel a sense of relief in the way you talk about it, because I like the way you were saying that you need to look at the output of how fast you can be.
Hmm.
And if you can be like Mario and get some marshmallows and upgrade yourself and utilize your core competencies to make it happen, that is a real powerful tool. And I really want to commend you for that comment, because I think that's what's missing in the dialogue a lot. It's either AI is going to take over everything, or we're not going to use it. But I really appreciate how your company and you are kind of finding a way to use both.
If if I was to be in an interview process, an interviewee, if I was interviewing for a job, and I was to build a cover letter and go into an interview where somebody asks a question about something that you've built or done, I would lean into the fact that I can say, hey, I was able to build with some supporting people a competency based hiring model for all of our positions and all of our levels across the organization. People would say, oh my God, that's incredible. But the important part for the interviewer is how they did that. Because then you're looking at how can they take what they did here and replicate it in my business, in my org, on my team. They're probably going to use AI when they're there, unless there's some blanket, like you can't use it. I don't know that that's happening, but it could be. And I always go back to my soccer career. I was part of a really good team that didn't win as much as we should. So when you go back and look at the archives of where I played college soccer, they don't tell you how well we played. They don't even tell you how many times you hit the post or whatever. That archive shows a win or a loss or a tie. There are more wins and losses than there are ties. And so for me, my career as an athlete is tied to that win-loss record from 2004 to 2007. No one really cares if we played well or we didn't play well. They see the win and the loss. Take that to the corporate side of what we're trying to do here. So long as the product gets shipped, the update gets sent, the the sale goes through. So long as we're using AI ethically and morally, and the people are doing it ethically and morally, if we can get the end result, that's a win or a loss today. Um, People aren't really going to look back at like how you did that. You can certainly demonstrate that if you need to, but organizations are results driven. They're for profit. Most of them are for profit. And so the end result is critical. You can do that in a very ethical, moral, good culture, fun, engaging kind of way. But one of the best parts about being in a team of any kind is performing well. And if there's a win-loss opportunity, everybody wants to win. I've yet to meet somebody that says like, oh yeah, I want to play soccer because I want to lose. Like, no, everyone wants to win. So that's where we're at with it. And people aren't going to really care how you got there as long as you're honest about it. You're doing it in an honest and respectful way, and you're representing it as such. That's what's key. When you start to use AI and then mislead or misappropriate your own skills, that can become an issue. Because if I build a website and I say, hey, I've built a website, people may make an assumption that I'm a web developer. If I start to act and talk like I am, if somebody actually pressure tests me on that, I'm going to get found out pretty quick. So that's why I'm very forthright with how I and my team are using it versus people assuming that I am this amazing content generator. No, I'm totally powered up by something. But the ideas and the creativity that I have, and that my team has and my company has, is not something that we can outsource entirely to artificial intelligence. We have to have some original thought somewhere in that process.
I love this, what you just said, powered up by AI, right? So we want to be powered up by AI. And I like the way you were touching about misappropriating that we're utilizing it or not, because where does the line of plagiarism and creativity come in? And I don't know the answer to it, but I'd love just, have you had some thoughts to that? Because that to me is what's interesting when I'm reading some of these books that are so AI written. It's like basically taking a marketing book from college, or
Yeah.
I got my master's degree. You're just regurgitating a little bit, and it sounds exactly the same. You're using the same examples: Facebook, Airbnb. I was just reading a book last night. I was like, dude, this is all AI written. I mean, it was just really fascinating to me. And I don't know the answer to that, because you can't really detect it. We're basically saying that. And that's kind of like when I worked for a senator, I did his speech. I wrote the full speech. He presented it, right? And
Yeah.
there's this line, there's this murkiness that I don't know the answer to. And that's one of the passions I have with this podcast, is to explore kind of some of those issues.
I'm trying to remember the exact quote, but I feel like if somebody's going to read a book that's written about AI or for AI, they should also read one of my favorites. It's called The Creative Act by Rick Rubin. And it's all his approach to creativity, like and how he asks a question that triggers one of his countless musical artists that have done so well to think differently about something. So he has a quote, and I'm going to get it wrong, but I'll get the gist of it right. It says something like, no matter what instrument you're using, the true creative is you, or something like that. So no matter what, the true creative person is actually you. It's me. My hope is that people will never outsource the entirety of their work or life to artificial intelligence. Use it to make things easier, but I am hiring somebody because I feel like they are additive to our culture. They're additive to our business. All of these things you can do. Like, AI doesn't have a culture right now. So if we're going to kind of wrap around to some of our original conversation about student athletes, there are countless student athletes that I saw play, work. And I went back to our head coach. And I said, this is the person. And he'll say, why do you think that? I said, I saw it. I just know. I can't explain it, but I know it. You got to trust me. There are characteristics of this individual that you cannot teach. So when you take that to a hiring authority or a talent management function, you can't assess AI's grit. You can't assess AI under pressure when there's a deadline and there's stress and all these things. Those are things that, maybe I'll create a word here, unoutsourceable, I think, because there's grit, there's determination. These are in the behavioral competency model that people are using when they're hiring, whether they have a formalized model or not. How many times have we as humans said, I like that person? Why? Well, I just know. I just know, right? Now, I'm not an advocate for making hiring decisions based on I just know, but I do think that is something that the human gut, intuition, whatever you want to call it, that's real. And as far as I know, there's no intuition or gut inside of AI. It's literally math. I can't do that math, so I'm going to use AI to do that math. What I can do is feel and have a conversation and engage and look somebody in the eye and shake their hand and actually watch how they're interacting in whatever scenario we're in. And I can tell you a lot about that person from that interaction, the same way they can of me. So I think, and again, it's sort of a weave there, but
I love it.
I think I got the point across.
Right. No, I think it's very poetic. I think you're right. Unoutsourceable. I think you're right. That is a new word.
I don't know if that word. Pop it into Grammarly and see if that comes out.
No, but I think you're so right. There is what are could you give me 5 outsourceable things that you really think, and then we'll be coming to a close, but just like, can you give me 1 to 5 or more? Like, what are the things that you really see that we cannot outsource?
Okay, I did just look. Nothing comes up uh, as, as unoutsourceable is a word.
What's your word? I'm going to put as your word. We're coining it as your word. Unenforceable.
Uh, you know, so I'm going to say a few things, but I do think that there are components of some of the things that I'll say that you can outsource. Um, so if you take a word like critical thinking, can a machine critically think to a certain extent? For sure. It absolutely can. It can unblock certain blockers. But if you're in a scenario where you have to make a quick decision, an AI tool is not going to know the context of your customers, the candidates, the vendor, the relationship, whatever that is. So you're going to have to think critically and make a decision inside of a business context, or certainly in a personal context too, that you actually probably don't have time to outsource that to a tool. I think curiosity is probably one of the biggest competencies or words that I personally anchor a lot of our hiring decisions around. There's a lot of curiosity that can go into research, preparation, demonstrating how you go about solving problems. And curiosity is a byproduct of what you and your mind are interested in learning more about. The most curious people that I've seen are some of the highest performers that I've ever been a part of hiring. Because today, the world is remote in a lot of contexts. And I'll make this reference again. At some point, you're going to be alone in your home office and no one's going to be around to where you can bounce an idea off, or you can't walk next door and say, hey, knock, 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 quick question for you. So you're going to have to be curious in that regard. I'm struggling to get to
So you got critical
five, but
thinking, you got curiosity. Is there anything else?
I
And then
would
you
say
said
that
grit. You said grit.
grit, yeah, grit for sure. I mean, not to make too many soccer references here, but
Oh, I love soccer. So we can go for references.
I mean, and the same would be true for basketball, football, orchestra, anything.
Yeah.
I can't teach someone to want to score a goal. I can teach them how. We can teach them how as coaches and educators. But anybody that's been in a sport or seen somebody get to the pinnacle of something has said that person has something that drove them to get there. That's grit. That's determination that you can't teach. Like, I can teach you mechanically from a hip and angle and foot perspective or heading. It can teach you how to actually physically do that. That is a functional thing that you can teach. But for you to say, hey, the ball just went wide, this guy's about to cross it, I'm going to haul ass to get to the near post and to flick this header in, like, that is an intuition and a desire that I don't think can necessarily be taught. The same is true for goalkeepers. Like, people don't really want to be goalkeepers. They go in there because it's a crazy job. You get balls slammed at you all the time, but the goalkeepers that have excelled, oh my God, they freaking love it. They want all that. They love the chaos.
I love what you said, because you said curiosity, critical thinking, grit. But is there something to grit that's the human spirit of wanting to win? There's this vision and desire that you can't tell people that, like, but they just have to have it inside of them. That's kind of what I'm interpreting from you.
That's the eternal question for like people in my world of recruiting. Like, how do you assess that? A lot of that assessment, I mean, there's certainly assessment tools that you could probably leverage.
Right.
Angela Duckworth has a phenomenal book called Grit out there that I highly, highly recommend. But so much of that assessment comes from like your intuition, your interpretation of what they say. You can pressure test them and kind of have like a real world scenario in your interview process that may pull that out and show you that. But at the end of the day, I feel like something is innate in somebody that they just want to be successful. They want to win. They want to perform. And typically there are signals in communication that will show that. with somebody. I mean, no one can really explain why when someone pulls up to you at a stoplight, you just kind of want to race them sometimes, or somebody passes you on Scottsdale Road here, and I'm like, oh, he better hope I don't come up next to him. I'm gonna race him, and he doesn't have a clue, right? And I
Right.
have a tiny little electric car that can't. I don't think it should be racing anybody, but I'm like, that just happens in me sometimes. I'm like, hey, you're driving too fast. When I hit that stoplight, we're racing, and I'm the only one that knows. But
It's something in
um,
training.
it's just it's intuitive. I've definitely tapered that down in my late 30s here for sure.
But I get that. This has been a great conversation. I want to thank you for that. I think you're absolutely right. There's part of the human spirit we can't delegate. There's a part of the human spirit that we can't see. We don't know in pressured points in time. And having worked in crisis and trauma, there's some people that survive that you never thought would survive the crisis, and other people that are completely still dealing with the PSTD. So I really, really sense the power of that, and at the same time, utilizing AI. So I want to say thank you. Is there any lasting like person that you really see right now in the field outside of Design Pickle that you really think have gotten the AI human part right?
Ooh, an individual person.
Or a
Um,
company or someone that you've just like noticed in this revolution that we're in right now. Revolution of change is what I'm calling it.
oh wow, that's a great question. Um, I've seen a lot of companies that have really leaned into to helping AI do what their platform does even more so. One of my favorite organizations, I have no affiliation with them other than a client, so I'm actually paying them. So um, Lattice is a really great tool, and
Lattice?
Lattice. So for me, Lattice Lattice is our tool that we manage people and their performance. So all the one-on-ones, all the performance management, performance reviews, compensation cycles, surveys, ENPS, all these things live inside of Lattice. Every single person that I've ever interacted with at Lattice has been what I call a surprise and delight person. The extra mile, super professional, amazing. So the baseline level of what they offer as an organization and a platform is anchored in good service, and that is something that we talk about here. But the surprise and delight moments. Lattice has now become an AI powered platform where it's now helping me as a leader help our leaders think critically about how they're writing performance reviews, how they're writing feedback, how they're actually stewarding their employees into growth opportunities. So there's AI features inside of it that will sort of prompt that along. And I've really, really valued that. Or if I just stream of consciousness type something into a performance review, they'll say, hey, I'll help you rewrite that. And all of a sudden it kicks out something that is a lot more productive for everybody and also makes me think critically about how I'm actually initiating these conversations. So I'm a huge fan of Lattice from how they hire, who they hire, and how their platform works. They're one of a billion companies that is leveraging AI to power themselves up, and it's great. They're the ones that I have the most exposure to. And I'm really, really excited to work with them always.
Well, I want to say thank you for your time and thank you for the soccer analogy. It's been a while since I was able to talk soccer because
Yeah,
I
trip
love.
down memory lane, right?
Yeah, I'm a Manchester United. Like in Norway, I'm from Norway, so in Norway we always have a UK soccer team we always hold on to. And mine was Manchester United with Alex Guinness. Then I played soccer. So which position did you play, by the
I
way?
was a center back.
Oh, yeah,
I
that's a good.
was I was described more as a piano carrier, not a piano player. But I'm also I share I am also a Manchester United fan. I was born in the mid '80s, and so in the late '90s, early 2000s, Man United was the best of the best,
The
and I
best.
used to pay my mom $7 a month for the satellite channel to get English Premier League games on. So I was the guy that wake up at 4 a.m. to watch. Still a fan. I still do that. I still do that to this day.
No,
38 years
that's
old.
fantastic.
I wake up at 4 a.m. to watch them play. Season ticket holder to the local team here in Phoenix. Um, so I'm still involved. I have to stay somewhat proximal to the soccer world.
To the soccer. Well, I
Yeah.
would have to say thank you so much for your time. This has been great.
Yeah.
We'll put in the show notes the links to where we can find you. I found you on LinkedIn and Venture Cafe, so we'll put that down there. And I just want to say thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. This was great. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you for listening to the Public Figure Society podcast, where innovation meets influence. If you love this episode, be sure to subscribe, follow, and leave a review. Connect with us on social media and join the conversation. Until next time, keep innovating, keep influencing, and we'll see you in the next episode.